Hello everyone, welcome back to another Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. I'm Nikki Batgirl D'Angelo and this is episode 54. And everything on my ship looks different. I mean, I got sick. What's that? That's pretty cool if you ask me. That screen and this set was donated by Radar, who goes by Pappy Boynton on the Robert Space Industries forums. So if you want to thank him for it, please do. I would really appreciate it. This is a big show for me, and it's going to be a short show for me because I intend on doing another one in just a few short days on Tuesday. I say it's a big show because it was a year ago that Robert Space Industries, aka CIG, had their big anniversary sale. And I started off by doing a show a night. Now, a lot of them weren't viewed that much, except for the Caterpillar and the Starfarer and the Super Hornet. There were certain shows that were 100% viewed way more than others. In fact, to this day, I think the Starfarer and the Caterpillar are still in my top 10 viewed shows. But last year, RSI, aka CIG, decided to put out a ship sale every single day of the week. And then for the weekend, they had the military variants. And then they started with the Wave 3 ships, with now we're at the Wave 4 ships. That is not going to be the case this week or this year. Starting tomorrow at noon Pacific time, all the ships that have been for sale that are not for sale now. So we're looking at limited editions and also Wave 3 ships that are not the Idris and not the Scythe are going to be for sale. It's going to be a big week. Okay, so you're going to see the Starfarer. You're going to see the Caterpillar. You're going to see the Hornet military version, which is the F7CM Super Hornet. You're going to see the Aurora LX. You're going to see the Gladiator, I believe. Probably the Retaliator. You'll also see things like the M50 and the 350R. And I would believe that the more recent versions of the LTI limited editions may or may not make their, well, they'll probably not be around. This is a big week, okay? We're sitting at just over 61 million, and last year I think the sale netted about $5 million. And I wonder if that's going to be what happens this year. There were some big sales numbers and there were some big dollar numbers last year for certain sales. Obviously, some ships are going to be very expensive, like the Starfarer, the Banu Merchantman, and we'll talk about what's happening on the 28th in just a second. And some ships aren't that expensive. Now, I can confirm that the Mustang will not be on sale for this. The Mustang is going to be on sale when 1.0 comes out. And 1.0, they're hoping to get out before the end of this year. That does not mean that 1.0 is going to be out in December. It means that they're hoping to have it out sometime before the end of the year. Do not be upset if it winds up coming up later in the year. Well, not later in the year, but actually early next year, like the first week or two of January. My guess is to put a lot of confidence in CIG and know that they're probably going to get it out on time. So for this ship sale, all I can tell you is this. A lot of things happen this week. It's Black Friday week. You have to buy your girlfriends, your wives, your husbands, your boyfriends, your children, your moms, your dads, your friends, and other family members' presents. So remember, these ships are all going to be available in-game. This isn't the last opportunity that you're going to have to purchase them, and there will be a huge opportunity to purchase them at a much lower price, aka in-game UEC, at some point in the future. Most of the ships that go on sale right now are not going to be readily available, though some of them may be, like the Aurora LX will be available in version 1.0 of Arena Commander. And there's some others like the 350 and the M50, they'll be available. But I'm telling you, just be careful. The second piece is there's other sales that go on during this week too, like the Steam sale, which I can say has probably netted as much money from me as CIG has from their sales. What am I looking forward to? Well, I'm looking forward to the 28th. I want to be a big explorer in the universe. And on the 28th, I know Not because Ben told me, but because he told the world without telling anybody else. Well, I should say Ben and Sandy. And that's the Carrack will be on sale next week. I know what it's going to cost. So I can tell you this. At some point in the past, Ben said that the Carrack was going to be about the same size as the Constellation. No. The actual size of the Carrack is going to be a little bit bigger. And you'll hear about that a little bit later, but I'm going to spill the beans now. Right after I do this part of the show, I'm going to have a little excerpt with Ben, which I'm going to try to promote here on Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous. It's something that I call 5 for the Community Manager, aka mini interviews with Ben. And we talk a little bit about 5 questions, 3 from the Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous community and 2 from me. And I can tell you this, the Carrack has grown. It seems that every ship that winds up over in Manchester grows, but I can't guarantee this one went to Manchester. I could only assume since it got bigger. It is now going to be about 110 meters, which makes it just about 50 meters longer than the Constellation. So that's going to be 330 to 340 feet long for those of us that are in the US. That's a rough estimate. It's going to have 4 decks, and it's going to have a launch bay to launch a spacecraft about the size of, let's say about the size of the launch that's in the 890 jump, but even more so if you've ever watched Farscape, the ship that John Crichton disappeared in. It's going to be a really small ship. I've been waiting for the Carrack, and I think the Carrack is going to be at a price point that some of you are going to say are expensive, and others of you are going to say it's in the sweet spot. It is more expensive than the Redeemer. It is less expensive than the Reclaimer. That much I know, and I got that out of Ben tonight, okay? So my guess is it's going to be about $325 to $350. For those of you that are looking for that ship that's going to make you, that's going to get you into that career path of explorer, this is it. There's a lot to offer with the Carrack. So I'm going to leave you with that, okay? So we have a long week coming ahead of sales. We have a lot of information coming out of CIG over the next week. There will be ship profiles going up on the comlink almost every day. And this is going to be a good week for us. I will have Ben on again next week for another one of my 5 for the CM. And that's pretty much it. Now, I do want to say that I have been the recipient of many ship gifts from you all in the past. I'm hoping you don't have to do that in the future, but it is important for me to bring you the information that I get the ships that are actually in game. And many of you open up your hangars to me, and I've walked through Big Bada Boom's hangar, and there's other people like Tracy that have, Tristar, that have offered me your hangar, but I really need access to the ships more than just one time because there's going to be updates to them like there just was last week, and that gets me into this. So I'm not asking for gifts. I'm telling you what I need to get, and a lot of you are already helping me. There are so many brand new patrons that I have that I really need to do a show dedicated to you all that are helping me and helping Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous grow. Thank you very much. And I actually, before I go on, want to tell you, I actually have my first, I guess you could say partner, team member, first, well, we could say the first editor on the show. And it's Dr. Jeffrey, and I'm not going to give last names at this point, who is doing the research each week and sending me the topics that we're gone over inside of Around the Verse and Reverse the Verse, because I work on Thursdays and I don't get an opportunity to watch them when they happen. And I get a very long email with a ton of stuff in it every single week from Dr. Jeffrey. Thank you so much. And you've become one of my patrons, which is amazing since you're working for the show, kind of, sort of. I think that was wonderful. All right, so we're going to jump into this next part, which I wish I can get rid of this screen that's here. And I just want to talk a little bit about something else that I found out. We're all waiting for different parts of this game start coming towards us, right? And one of the things that's going to be beneficial to all of us is when we can be in each other's hangar. Right now, we can create a game and send that code to somebody and they can join us and they can fight with us. But there's still no place for us to actually congregate and virtually talk to each other, kind of like Ironforge in World of Warcraft, or I don't know any other game. I'm sorry, I was a WoW head for a while. And actually, it wasn't Ironforge for me. For me, it was all For the Horde. I was one of those people in Orgrimmar. But we don't have that right now. Next year, we have two big things coming out, and one of them is going to be the planetary module. And right after that will be the social module. We're going to be able to invite people into our hangars and congregate in meeting places like bars. It sounds minimalistic, but it's actually a big step forward. It's going to be the first time that they're going to be able to have a lot of characters in one space at one time, which will test the strain on servers and also test the strain on our computers, because the CryEngine really needs a lot of power. And right now, with all the polygons that are in the ships and are in the people, when you get a couple of hundred people around, no, I did not pick my nose. Remember, I'm still getting over the flu. And you get that many people around one area, it's going to slow down the system. I remember like 10 years back, or maybe it was 8 years back, when we'd be congregating near the auction houses before they had more than one inside of Orgrimmar, it would just stand, it would slow to a crawl. It would be like a standstill. So this is going to be an opportunity for them to start stress testing. So I'm going to go back to the piece I was trying to talk about. 9.2.1 came out, and there was a lot of balancing pieces in that patch. And a couple of those things were, well, they were doing away with what some of y'all were doing with your ships, like taking a M50 and putting two giant Gatling guns on it. That was awesome that you could do that, but it was never meant to happen. So those things are starting to be made the way the specs read. So if it says that you can only hold a size 1 weapon in that slot, that's all that's going to be able to be in there. Also, the other things to look at are look at the ship specs. Some of the ships right now are coming with default weapons loadouts, but now, as of 9.2.1, they're coming with what the weapons loadouts were supposed to have been in reality, right? Like, take for instance the 350R, which does not come with a nose-mounted gun at all, only comes with the two Omni-Skies on the wing tips, and doesn't come with any of the missiles. So all those are gone from your ship at this point, and if you want to add them, you're either going to have to pull them off another ship you own, or head on over to Voyager Direct, aka Amazon, and make your order and have it delivered right into your hangar without you even having to sign for it. Pretty cool, isn't it? Well, I did that with a couple of low-priced weapons. I think they're called broadswords. They're 20 or 25 millimeter ballistic guns. And they work very well if you're trying to shoot a paper bag when it's wet. But just telling you, you can actually buy some weapons. And then, I really don't want you to do that at all, because Ben mentioned today on Around the Verse that there are quite a number of weapons that will be in Voyager Direct real soon. And since all of us receive 10,000 UEC to buy them, which buys you like 1.125 weapons, it's kind of weird, right? I would really suggest that you wait until all the weapons are in before the end of the year. So I'm jumping all over the place today, and I really do hope you forgive me. Like I said, still getting over the flu. First time I've been on board ship in a while. Well, out of the med bay at least. And there's just so much information out there that I want to talk to you about. I'm going to just close it out now because I intend on putting together a big show for Tuesday that will take you through the holiday. And we'll talk a lot about what went on in Around the Verse today and what goes on tomorrow and through the sale and what we learn about each one of the ships that they're talking about. But I always knew that we were going to be able to buy bigger ships than the Idris, something like destroyer-sized. Well, we got a sneak peek today at a civilianized version of the Javelin destroyer, which is kind of weird. Could you imagine General Dynamics in the United States, who makes some of the biggest ships in the military at this point. Or, well, actually, they make the submarines and they make some of the destroyers. They don't make all of them. Could you imagine them taking an Ollie Burke destroyer and civilianizing it? How would they do that? I mean, that would make no sense. Who would they sell it to? I mean, like mercenaries that were going after Al-Qaeda? But that's essentially what they're doing. They're taking a ship like that, civilianizing it, and selling it to militia and people out in the far reaches of the galaxy, you know, at the fringes of UE-controlled space. At least that's what we hope. How do I know this? We don't, I don't know. I just know. Well, with that said, I really want to do a lot more tonight, but I'm just going to end on this note. A couple of things I want to say. First off, thank you to all of you that have subscribed to me in the past month. I couldn't be more appreciative or more humble. You guys make me feel wonderful that you think that I am your voice for Star Citizen. And I'm going to rise to the occasion and make sure I bring you the news each week, which is why Ben is coming right after this. And remember, after this show, Ben will be in his own slot, and I will be putting him up on Thursdays because I will be talking to him every Wednesday. And Thursday will be the time that I put up the 5 for Ben Lesnick or 5 for the CM. You guys are just amazing, and I really hope that I improve each show, and I hope that you keep coming back and leaving such wonderful comments and constructive criticism. Second piece, my channel is my channel, and I'm not saying that to be mean or evil, but I'm going to be putting up a lot more than Star Citizen content, but believe me, this is my passion. This is what I love, and you can tell it. But the game is far off in the distance. I could play Arena Commander every day, and, well, I usually do. But I also play some other games. So my channel will be filled with some other game information too. And you don't have to watch everything. So that's where I'm coming to. This will be the last contest that you have to share every episode I put up there. For now on, when I have these contests for promoting my show, they're going to be Star Citizen related unless otherwise told in the future. So after this contest, the Drive to 2K, you will not have to share all the other episodes that I do. I think they'll find their own viewership, and those people will share them with the people that like that type of video. So for all of you that are sticking with me for Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous, thank you so much, and I promise you this will be my main focus. And for those of you that are like me, that are a hybrid in between this and Elite Dangerous, well, believe me, I'll be doing both of those games. So I think I'm going to be doing something sort of like this for Elite Dangerous too, but I'll definitely be keeping those Let's Play videos going as long as I can. Okay, with that said, I want to move right on over to Ben, and I'm not going to come back to say goodbye to you. Actually, I will. I will come back to say goodbye to you, because you know what? You're all worth it, because you are amazing, and thank you so much for giving me so much confidence and for supporting me each week that I stand up here and try to give you my take on what's going on in the Star Citizen universe. And be aware that although this episode is not filled with information, Tuesdays will be, and I promise that. Thank you all, and I'll talk to you right after the interview with Ben, which only takes 15 minutes. Hello, everyone. This is Nicky Batgirl D'Angelo, joined again by Ben Lesnick. Ben, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderfully. And my community has kind of labeled this series on my channel as 10 for the CM, a.k.a. Ben. So this is something that I have cut to 5, of course, right? Because we can't take all that time. I can't do a full 20-minute video every week of this. So quick questions this week. The first one I'm going to ask you is the last one that we were just talking about. And this isn't your traditional MMO. This is going to be more like an FPS, an MMO rolled into one. But in most MMOs, there is a crafting system. And there have been some talk about there being that in here. How, and well, it should be what elements are going to be in that system here and Star Citizen, aka overclocking, modding, salvaging? Is there anything you could speak to that question right now?
Sure. Well, as you guys probably know, we're not traditional MMO. I think a big mistake that a lot of sci-fi futuristic MMOs take is they just take the crafting mechanic from World of Warcraft Ultimate Online and they move it into the future. And they go, if you collect enough metal and you bang on it with this object, it becomes a missile or a laser or something. And that doesn't work for us. That kind of takes you out of the reality. That if I could buy enough titanium, there's never going to be a point where I can make a F-22 in my garage. So in place of that, we have a number of other systems. You mentioned a bunch of them. Overclocking is probably the closest to the traditional MMO crafting, because the idea is you have a laser cannon you have already, and you overclock it like you do a PC. You sort of take a risk to push it higher than the recommended spec. So you might up the power, up the damage, whatever. And if it can sustain that, you have a better item. If it can't, it'll explode and you're just boned. So that's overclocking, and that'll work in a number of situations in Star Citizen.
I got a question. Could it blow up in the middle of you trying to overclock it and kill you?
Yes, or damage you.
Okay.
A permadeath mechanic.
Oh, that's cool.
So we've got salvage, which is basically going out there and collecting bits and pieces, both hey, here's a big wide field of space trash, I'm going to crunch it into cubes, or hey, here's a cool alien ship, I'm going to board it and carefully slice out the bits I want to actually use.
What if you get, what if you're able to go out, shoot up some Vandal, take some technology? Is there a way that you're going to be able to mount that technology on your ship?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right, so that's part of that overclocking and
of course, the other thing we have is I guess I would call it metacrafting.
Okay.
So you can't go to your garage and build a Hornet, but in the rules of our game world, there is a factory that produces Hornets, and you will know where that is, and you'll know what resource sources it needs. So if you want to work with other players to get the Anvil Corporation more titanium, more beryllium, whatever they need to make Hornets, they're going to pump them out faster. If you work to blockade that world, if you work to destroy their sources for these goods, then they're not going to be building them. Prices will skyrocket. So there's sort of it's more like today. If I go and sink a ship full of blue jeans are going to be more expensive.
So if I go out and buy up the Hornets when they're low price, then blockade them and blow up all the things that are going into that system, and I have this large amount, like maybe 10, 12, 15, 20 Hornets in my org, can I sell them on the black market or something?
Yeah, the value's going to go up.
Okay.
It's like a rare car.
All right, so that's question one. That's pretty good, and sorry about all those extra questions.
That's cool.
Second question, there are people that, obviously you addressed one piece of this in Around the Verse with the Avenger and the Avenger variants being more distinctive. What things can you tell us that are being looked at to change the Hornet in both appearance and interior setup that we might be excited about, or that you might be able to give us a heads up about right now? That's kind of crazy.
The Cutlass.
Yeah, the Cutlass. Right? I'm sorry, not the Hornet, the Cutlass. Yes, definitely the Cutlass.
Yeah. So the team in the UK has been charged with doing two things to the Cutlass. One is relocating the docking hatch to somewhere above the ship rather than below, so it makes more sense. And the other is to do a complete white boxing of the interior. So I caution people against expecting the Cutlass to look completely different after this. It's going to have a hatch in a different place, and there can be a cascading impact from that. But they're not looking at it as in, hey, let's change what the Cutlass looks like. It's all utilitarian. And same for the internals. We knew that like one of the berths was too small, so we're basically just refactoring it all correctly.
Okay. Now the second piece of that question is that people have noticed that we have cells in the Avenger that we have now, and we have cells in the Cutlass that we have now, but they're greatly different. Would there be cause for us to think that both of those are going to change to whatever you think up now, or will the Avenger Bounty Hunter continue to have those Han Solo cryo, freeze type cells?
No, I don't see that changing. I think they both perform a very similar function, but there's no problem with them being distinct visually.
Okay. So the next question would be, you have the Carrack. Now, we know that there's about 5 or 6 different ships in each specific role as you go up. Like in exploration, we have the Aurora LX, I believe is what it is. Then you go to the 315P, then the Freelancer DUR, then you're in the Constellation Aquila, and then you're in the Carrack. What might the differences be between those last two? Like, what missions would a Constellation be good at, and what missions would a Carrack be better for?
Well, first I'll say I think that this question is partially my fault. There was a point a month or so back where I think I mentioned that the Carrack was sized similarly to the Constellation. That was wrong. It is no longer sized similar to the Constellation. It's more of a midpoint between the Constellation and the 890 jump. It's 110 meters. So we're talking about a ship with 4 decks. It has a buggy. It has a launch. It's closer to the Enterprise than the Millennium Falcon, I would say, at this point.
How about Voyager?
Well, yeah, because of the Voyager.
Okay.
But
So
I guess in terms of what the different sizes of exploration ships do, there's a number of different systems. Total range is one. What they carry is important. Constellation has a crew of, I think, 3. Carrack has 6. It has more cargo room. It has the ability to mount larger engines. A jump engine is not always a jump engine. There are all sorts of variations. There's ones that allow you more jumps before you have to refuel. There's ones that allow you to reduce your jump flash to stay stealthy. So that's a big factor in the exploration mechanic, is the jump stuff.
Okay.
And just mounting sensor arrays. The Carrack will mount more capital class stuff that the Constellation does. Constellation is a good midway point. It's a ship that does a little bit of everything pretty well. The Carrack is a ship that it's not gonna be as good in a fight as the Constellation, other than that it is a large capital ship, so it'll take more of a punishing, but it's not going to be flying around waving in and out of enemy formations.
Okay.
More of a static base in that sense.
So more in the lines of what, not as big in any way sensitive or whatever, but kind of like the Reclaimer. It's a task-specific ship, where the Aquila is kind of a more multi-role ship.
Exactly.
Now, you said it has a launch. How many ships are going to fit in that launch, and of what size? Or do I need to wait?
Launch. No, it's a little launch. It's not a...
So we're talking about the runabouts from the 890 jump, or something more specific?
Even smaller than that. I think it's more of like an EVA, similar to the one that we're putting on the Reclaimer. Oh,
so something like John Crichton from Farscape would be flying.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's pretty cool. So that's pretty cool. All right, so there's many people right now that are kind of questioning some of the things that have been going on the forums, and I saw this, but I don't know if it's still going on. At some point, you changed the policy of how many people could be added to a PM and how many times you could PM somebody. Has that been corrected, or is that change there for a different purpose that I don't understand?
We were just getting hit with a bunch of org spam exploits, so we temporarily moved it to a waiting period between PMs as we work on punishing those responsible.
Okay.
No, it's not a permanent change. It's to deal with an exploit we had recently encountered.
Okay. I asked that because that's how the Motley creators, the people that like to submit videos that don't get played, because there's no place to play them, that's how they speak, and it's kind of difficult because you can't PM more than once every 5 minutes or so, whatever it is.
Yeah, I have the same problem because I get it in the morning and I have 60 PMs. It takes me a while to get to them all. But we will change that back in the near future as soon as we have a solution to the problem.
Now, this next question, which I believe is the fifth one, has to do with the org drop. One of our viewers was very savvy in figuring something out. And that was that you're telling us that version 1.0 should be out in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. It's going to be out before the end of the year. We have lots
That's the hope, anyway.
Yeah, we have lots of... Well, thank you. My fingers are crossed every day because I want to fly my Avenger.
Ours too.
Yeah, and one of the big things in that is also drop 2 of the organizations. Drop 2 of the website, right? Am I asking it the right way? The organization website?
Oh, so you're looking for the second drop of the org site with the fleets and the sub-forums and everything?
Yeah, because that was said that they were going to come together by Chris. I believe it was in either at CitizenCon or maybe even before that over at Gamescom. But that seems to be something that was tied together because of the... what do they call it? The lobby system that you're going to have? Is that something Yeah.
No, they're actually separate.
Okay.
So I think you'll see 1.0 before you see the second org drop.
But so that is being pushed back based on what was told before then.
I think so. I don't recall Chris saying that, but it's certainly possible he did.
Suddenly you become Ollie North. I don't recall. No, just kidding.
No, I can kind of remember what I say, but not necessarily Chris.
Yeah.
I will say they've been done by the same team. The team at Behavior and Turbulent. Have been working on the same systems together, but I think you'll see lobbies before the full org drop.
All right, that's great, and that's 5. The only other question I would ask you is, you're off all week next week, right?
No, I will be working. So the U.S. offices are open Monday through Wednesday. Everybody but UK gets UK and Edinburgh get Thursday, Friday off for Thanksgiving. But I will be working because we've got the sale to push, all sorts of plates in the air.
Yes. And will you have time next week for us, or should we push off for a week?
I will have time for you next week. Maybe make it Wednesday rather than Thursday, though.
That would be great. No problem. All right, Ben, thank you very much for joining me today. And for everybody else out there, join me again next week, hopefully, when we can get together and ask Ben 5 more questions. Please make sure you post them in the comments section below. Isn't it wonderful that Ben takes his time out of his day to spend with us, the people that love the game and just want to learn more about it? Now, Ben is usually open to anybody that wants to speak to him, but if you have your own show, like Joe Marino over at StarCast, or Dr. Hawk with his new Game Clinic, or Wes with The Whole Truth when he gets back to it, Wes, I'm coming after you. If you don't get back on the job, I'm going to send my cats to get you. Any of you that have any kind of a podcast can contact him anytime, and I'm sure he would open up to you and give you as honest an answer as he can. Now, do understand there are some points that he's not going to be able to answer your question because either A, it's not determined at that point, or B, they're waiting for a big announcement and don't want to spill the beans. With that said, remember, we still have the contest for the Redeemer going. It's the Drive to 2K. We're going to try to even simplify that even more next time by just making it Star Citizen specific shows that you have to share. And then we have the Constellation Model Contest, which I'm not telling you how to enter that. You have to go back through my prior videos to see what the entry is. It's not that I want you to watch my videos again. It's that I know that a lot of you are sharing my videos without watching. I get a lot more shares by the end of the day than I do views some days. So that's pretty funny, right? So I just want you to know, just go back, find it, and you could get a free Constellation model that will be sent to you by Jet Fueler from the Star Citizen Addicts Anonymous thread in the subscriber den. All right, I think I'm at the end. Tuesday is going to be a big show, I promise you. I'll have a lot of information for you. We'll give you an update on where we're at. We should have 1 or 2 letters from the chairman by that point. In fact, I'm going to go out on a limb and say by Tuesday, I will be talking about 2 letters from the chairman, but by the time you watch this on Wednesday, there'll probably be a 3rd stretch goal that's hit and a letter from the chairman that's already being written, but probably not in the comlink at that point. With that said, I just got to get done with this, okay? Because I think Ben's interview went a little bit long, and that means the show might go long. So you all be safe out there, and I will talk to you Tuesday.